شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته، ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأطهرين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين، روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم ملعونين. أما بعد, for the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziyah, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the shuhada, ulama and siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahl al-Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Arwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. Center. You're improving. All praises due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on whose Rahman and on whose Rahim. The place that you sit is a place where even the Ma'asum Malaika desire to be. And the Ma'asum Malaika do not descend upon the earth except in servitude to Ahl al-Bayt, or with a wahi, or then for a state of worship. And so, if you're sitting here is the worship of the Malaika, it is your worship too. Sitting here in the remembrance of Aba Abdullah is a form of worship. And thus, like other worships, there are certain criterion that must be observed, certain adab that must be observed when I enter into the majlis of Imam al-Hussein. In order, and I've been saying this to you for the last 2 nights, that there are secrets that are hidden in these majalis. And for you to unlock those sir, those asrar, those secrets, there are certain things that you must do, you must complete, in order for you to ascend to a level where they may manifest for you. On the first day I said that these majalis are a form of rizq, sustenance from Allah. And there is a specific rizq in these majalis. But like with every other worship that brings rizq, one must fulfill certain prerequisites in order to benefit totally. Certain adab, certain mannerisms that one must follow, certain morals that one must have in order to unlock the hidden potential of these gatherings. Amongst them is the type of clothing you choose to wear to the majlis. Would you wear that while praying? So a lot of the times you've got to measure it against one particular weight. And the best of those weights is the Imam of your time. The clothing that I choose to wear to the majlis of Imam al-Hussein, would I wear that in front of my Imam? If hand on my heart I can say yes, then that's fine. But if I think I might be a bit ashamed wearing those particular joggers, they're a little bit, couple of sizes too small, for example, I may reconsider what I am wearing in the majlis, because I wouldn't wear them in front of the Imam of my time. Then would I wear that type of clothing to the majlis where it is my yaqeen that my Imam is present? So there are certain adab of the majlis that must be observed if you hope to unlock those secrets. And there are certain secrets of Ahl al-Bayt that will only be given to the people of Ma'rifah, the people of understanding. That those who are sitting there going, well, what does it matter? I will wear whatever I want in the majlis. They haven't been able to achieve that Ma'rifah. And so they will forever be deprived of the secrets that are hidden here within. But those that understand, and it extends outside of the majlis as well. I may dress super holy here, like I'm the holiest man on earth. But outside, you wouldn't be able to tell if I was a Muslim or not. And I'm not telling you have to walk around in disdashas and all of that, no. There are adab in terms of clothing as well. That doesn't mean that you just walk around in abayas or disdashas. But the same thing, if you want to unlock the secrets, because this is a journey of love that will culminate on the 10th day. But in order for that saga of love to unlock itself and manifest itself both in front of you and within you, for you to see the realities of this world, سَنُرِيهِمْ آيَاتِنَا فِي الْآفَاقِ وَفِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَهُمْ أَنَّهُ الْحَقِّ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran says, we will manifest for them our signs upon the horizons and within themselves, until they realize that we are the truth. To understand haqq, one must fulfill certain prerequisites. It may seem like something irrelevant, but it is these minutiae that take us to the height of those spiritual levels. Once I remove that hypocrisy that exists within me, someone's eager to get in. This is another, people become really impatient in Muharram. Have you noticed? It's another one of the adab. I was talking to some of the brothers in the car park. Poor guys, they have to put up with a lot. It's like, sorry, car park's full. No, I'm going to run you over. I'm going to make sure I get a car parking spot. Who does Imam think he is? I will not park out. I think that I should deserve a space. You see, it is the same arrogance that will stop you from ascending. It is all these things that interlink, that connect to that ascent. And the ascent cannot happen until you have purified yourself. That was a short one. The person's on the borderline. And part of that ascent, that journey towards God, is to have ma'rifah of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And I've said, for this series of lectures, we will be discussing Ziyarat Jami' al-Kabira of Imam al-Hadi salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. In this ziyarah, Imam alayhi salam explains the maqam of Ahlul Bayt. Because what I have found is that for years people pushed too far. They were like, oh no, these guys are so extreme. People have an extreme view about the Imams. They're attributing divinity to the Imams. And in that pursuit of pushing away an extreme ideology that they perceived, they themselves pushed themselves to the other level. Where now they went to a level where they now are like, the Imams are just, just like that. But in reality, it's not. And so in order to understand, so in order to understand that, we need to be able to truly unpick what our aqidah is about Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And understanding Ahlul Bayt is one of the most single important things that the human being can do. Your attendance to this majalis, you're going to ziyarah, you're reciting ziyarah from afar. What is the intention behind it? Is it for dua? Is it for closeness to Allah? Is it for ma'rifah? What is the intention? I would posit here that the intention should be the renewal of your allegiance to the Imam. Every ziyarah that you go to, you renew your allegiance. Every majlis you come to, it is a sign of renewing your allegiance. And so, with that in mind, when you attend these places, you come with that intention of renewing your allegiance. And these aren't my words. There is in Biharul Anwar of Allama Majlisi a chapter that he refers to as Bab Tinati wal Mithaq, the chapter of the covenant. And in that, he brings some 70 ahadith, which in terms of their sanad, the vast majority of them are absolutely sahih, where he talks about this realm of the covenant, Alam-e-Mithaq. He says that Alam-e-Mithaq is one of those planes of existence. The human being went through a number of different existences in spiritual form prior. You hear about Alam-e-Dhar in the Holy Quran. Alastu bi Rabbikum. Allah asks all of mankind, am I not your Lord? Qalu bala, and they all said yes. And then in addition to that, there is this Alam-e-Mithaq, the place of the covenant. So after that covenant was taken, a second covenant was taken from all of existence. Alastu bi Rabbikum, Allah asked. Then a second covenant was taken. A covenant that was taken from the animals, from the jinns, from the plants, and the human being. And what was that covenant? That was the covenant of the wilaya of Ahlul Bayt salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhima. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. I think if the brothers could just please move forward a little bit. Everyone just shuffle forward. That's it. Slow to start. There we are. Center them. Ladies, if you could all squeeze in a bit together as well. That would make it easier for those that are coming afterwards, inshallah. No, thank you. Center. So that covenant that was taken from all of existence, the jinn, the animals, the plants, was the wilaya of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Some accepted that wilaya, some rejected it. There was no force to accept the wilaya. So some chose to accept the wilaya of Ahlul Bayt and some chose to reject it. But the effect that that had in their life in the world was very different. Amir al-Mu'mineen says to Qambar, his servant, he says, Qambar, إن الله تبارك وتعالى عرض ولايتنا على أهل السماوات والأرض من الجن والإنس والثمر وغير ذلك. Says, O Qambar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took the oath of our allegiance, the covenant of our wilaya from every single existence, from the plants, from the animals, from the jinns, and all the other existences. And those that accepted, فَمَا قَبِلَ مِنْهُ وِلَايَتَنَا طَابَ وَطَهُرَ وَعَضُبَ. He says those from amongst the plants and the animals that accepted our wilaya entered this world as halal meat animals. They entered this world as sweet fruits and edible plants. And those that rejected our wilaya in that alam-e mithaq entered this world as haram meat animals. And they entered as plants that were bitter and unedible. I think, how does that work? Beats me. But this is the realm of the covenant. The plants that accepted, they entered this world as sweet fruits, edible for the human being. And those that rejected the wilaya came as bitter, unedible items. Halal and haram gusht, halal and haram meat animals. They came in this world based upon the wilaya that they accepted in alam-e mithaq. And it wasn't just those, there were other things. The lands were asked. Those of you that go on ziyarah in the pursuit of buying an aqiq Yemeni, why do you buy the aqiq Yemeni? Because the riwayat tell us that the aqiq Yemeni has afdaliyah, has greatness over all of the other aqiq. For what reason? That it was the first mountain to accept the wilayat of Ali ibn Abi Talib in alam-e mithaq. It was the first one to accept it. Thus it was given that maqam that now you go and are pursuing buying the aqiq Yemeni. And so when you wear it, your 2 rakat namaz is equivalent to 1,000 raka'ah without an aqiq Yemeni. It now protects you from magic, evil eye, and all near-death experiences. Because of the wilaya. Even lands are different. We explained to you yesterday, when the Kaaba became happy that I am the place upon which the house of God has been built, Karbala called out, stay quiet, for I am the land within which the Hujjah of Allah is buried. Not every land has the capacity to bear the body of the Hujjah of Allah. Not every land has that capacity. So animals, plants, lands, they all had this different maqam. This is why Karbala is looked at first on Yawmul Arafah. The riwayat says Yawmul Arafah, when all the Hujjaj are there on the plains of Arafah, when the day dawns, Allah first looks towards Arafah with his looks first towards Karbala with his mercy towards the Za'irin of Sayyidul Shuhada, then he looks towards the Hujjaj in Arafah. Lands differ from each other. But our focus is on the human being. Those in alam-e mithaq that accepted the covenant of the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen entered this world born Shia. Those that rejected it were born non-Shia. They were born without the wilayah. Those that accepted it in alam-e mithaq, it's not like you had a life or anything. The covenant was given. Those that chose to accept it were entered into this world as a Shia. It's not fluke that you are here. It's not a fluke that you were born in a Shia family. It's not a fluke that you came to the path of Ahlul Bayt, and we'll explain it. It's not a fluke that you were born Shia. That if it had happened a couple of doors down, then today you may be sitting in Green Lane separating and celebrating, rather than here commemorating. No, it's not a game of Russian roulette. This is all Alam-e-Mithaq, where the covenant was taken, and those that accepted were born Shias. And then amongst them, there were different maqamat. Those that accepted quicker than others were given certain positions in this world. Some became the Anbiya, some became the awliya. Do you think those 72 in Karbala were just random individuals? It was Alam-e-Mithaq and the wilaya of Ahlul Bayt that gave them this maqam. They were fastest in accepting it. And so they reached this maqam in the dunya. This dunya, it was destined for them to reach this maqam. And that's not to say, just because I was a born Shia, that I will forever be in the wilaya of Ahlul Bayt. No, it's not the case. It's not the case. Nor is it the case if I was born a non-Shia, that I can never enter into the wilayat of Ahlul Bayt. No, through dua, through different paths that people take, people enter into the wilayah of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. It's just that in Alam-e-Mithaq, there were some that accepted, there were some that chose not to accept. But it's not a done deal. Not a done deal. Now you may be thinking, what in the world? Alam-e-Mithaq or what? But you've been talking about it for years. You've been reciting about it for years. Those of you that recite Dua Ahad every single morning in Fajr for the Imam of your time, there is a line in there where you say, Allahumma inni ujaddidu fi sabihati yawmi hadha. Oh Allah, on this morning I am renewing my covenant. If it's the first time you're reciting it, what covenant have you made? What covenant are you renewing? You're renewing the covenant of Alam-e-Mithaq. You're reminding yourself that there was a time where I accepted the wilaya of Ahlul Bayt. The short-sighted will say, it's just lucky I was born a Shia. No, it's not lucky. It's not luck. Like I said, it's not a game of Russian roulette. It's not luck or chance that you are sitting here today. That love that dragged you here, that brought you from your homes when you could have sat at home and watched it on YouTube like many others. What dragged you here harks back to a time before time. In that realm where you accepted that covenant, or you made your way to the wilaya of Ahlul Bayt when after you'd entered this realm. Do not consider this wilaya that you have as something small and insignificant. Don't ever sell this wilaya for the sake of fashion, for vanity. This wilaya is very important. Someone comes to the sixth Imam and says to him, Yabna Rasulillah, I'm poor. I'm destitute. Imam looks at him. Zahiran, he was Sahib Maarifat. Imam says to him, you are not poor. He says, Yabna Rasulillah, I am poor. I'm telling you, I have no money. I'm destitute. Imam said to him that you possess something that is so priceless. He said, Ya Rasulullah, if I had it, I'd know. Imam says, tell me, if all the wealth in the world was placed on one side and was offered to you, and all they said to you was, for all of this wealth, just remove all the love of Ali that you have in your heart. Would you do it? He says, Abadan. Never. Yabna Rasulillah, I would never give up this love of Ali ibn Abi Talib in my heart. Then the Imam says, so don't ever call yourself poor, for you have something that is priceless. No. You have something that is priceless. Don't ever consider this wilayat, this love of Ahlul Bayt that you have in your heart to be something small. Don't sell it so that you can be the first out in the car park and you won't take part in the azaa of Imam al-Hussein. Don't sell it by wearing clothing that is going against Islam. Don't sell this wilaya by not adhering to your hijab. Because this wilaya was gifted to you. It was gifted to you. Your maqam is far greater than you can ever imagine. Your position is so high that it does not befit you that you sell it for a few worldly things. You are far greater than you could ever imagine. This wilaya, some accepted, they became Shia in this one. Others who were not born Shia, and many may be sitting here today, who were not born Shias, but they struggled and made their way into the wilaya of Ahlul Bayt, and today they are there. It's not that they can't ever become one of the awliya of Allah, because Karbala itself shows us. Zuhair ibn Qayn is one of the prime examples of this. Zuhair ibn Qayn is that individual that was on the opposite side in the army of Muawiyah fighting against Imam Ali in Siffin. When Sayyid al-Shuhada left for Kufa, somewhere along the way, his caravan and Zuhair's caravan happened to meet. Zuhair ibn Qayn says, I had heard some rumors that Hussein was doing some sort of uprising, and I wanted no part of it. So wherever I would see that Hussein has camped, I would ride away with my family and my kinsmen, and I would camp far away. And this continued for a number of days, until one day I was forced to camp in the same area as Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Says I was camped, Zuhair says I was surrounded by my kinsmen, my family members. His wife was there as well. Zuhair sat. Someone came in through the tent. Zuhair ibn Qayn, I am the messenger of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Abu Abdullah wishes to meet with you. Zuhair says, tell Imam al-Hussein I will come and see him. I will come and see him in a short while. He says, no, Zuhair, you don't understand. Abu Abdullah himself has come to see you. Abu Abdullah himself has come to see you. Zuhair ibn Qayn stands up. He goes out. Nobody knows what that conversation was between Zuhair and Abu Abdullah. But his kinsmen narrate that when Zuhair returned, it was like Nur was dropping from his face. It was dripping from his face. He turned to his wife. He said, return back to Kufa. My family members will take you back to the home of your father. He turned to his brothers and he said, I have lifted any right of brotherhood that I had with you. You may all go back to Kufa. They said, Zuhair, you are the head of our tribe. Zuhair, where is it that you are going? He says, as for me, I am going with Abu Abdullah. I'm going with Abu Abdullah. And today, that Zuhair, every time you recite the ziyarat of the shuhada of Karbala, you say, Bi abi anta wa ummi. May my soul, may my parents, my mother and my father be sacrificed upon you. Understand this wilaya that you have, this love of Ahlul Bayt. But this covenant wasn't just love. Because non-Shi'as love Ahl al-Bayt. Sikhs love Ahl al-Bayt and Imam al-Hussein. Hindus love Ahl al-Bayt and Imam al-Hussein. Non-Shi'as love Ahl al-Bayt and Imam al-Hussein. They have love, but they don't have wilayah. There will be many in attendance today that have love, but they don't have wilayah. They have love in their hearts. It's brought them here. But wilayah is different. George Jordak, the writer of As-Sawt al-Adalat al-Insaniya, the voice of human justice, a Lebanese Christian, he writes a book about Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, the love of Ali was instilled in my heart by my father, who was a stonemason. And one day he carved a stone and placed it at the head of the door of our house. So every time I would walk in, I would see this statement, and I would walk inside the house. They asked him, what was that statement? He says, my father had inscribed upon this stone at the head of our house, La fata illa Ali, la sayf illa zulfiqar. He says that statement. He says that statement instilled the love of Ali in my heart. And he wrote that book, As-Sawt al-Adalat al-Insaniya. Only a summarized version has been translated into English. It is many volumes in its original Arabic. He had the love, but he remained a Christian. He died a Christian. So this covenant wasn't the covenant of love. Because many of us have love. We do. We come to the majlis, but then we act in a different way, we dress in a different way outside. We have the love, but it doesn't seem like it's that covenant. Wilayah. See, the covenant that was taken was wilayah. It's a level above love. What is that covenant? In one of the ziyarat of the Imam of our time, we recite, وَهُوَ أَهْدِي إِلَيْكَ وَمِثَاقِي لَدَيْكَ. This is my covenant to you. What is that covenant? فَأَبْذَلُ نَفْسِي وَمَالِي وَوَلَدِي وَجَمِيعَ مَا خَوَّلَنِي رَبِّي بَيْنَ يَدَيْكَ. I am now, this is my covenant to you, O Imam of my time, that فَأَبْذَلُ, I will sacrifice my life, my wealth, my children, and everything that God has given at my disposal for you, O my Imam. That is wilayah. Love, anyone can claim to love, but if you're willing to sacrifice your own personal desires, your wealth, what you think looks good compared to what Ali Muhammad have told you what looks good, if you can do that, then that is wilayah. Even members of the family didn't necessarily have wilayah. Just because someone may be a Sayyid doesn't necessarily mean that that person has wilayah. They may have love. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, leaving Mecca, along the way he meets his younger brother Umar al-Atraf. Now the name shouldn't shock us. In the early days of Islam, this name had many different meanings. Later on in history and how history is portrayed, and other people have come and said, this person was, Imam Ali named this person after this person. None of that is true. It was such a common name at that time. Look at Karbala. Now today I say to you, Yazid, you say Lanat. Yes? Well, you should do. But four of the companions of Imam al-Hussein in Karbala were called Yazid. You have Yazid ibn Suwayd, who came from Basra. You have Yazid ibn Ziyad al-Muhajir. There were 4 Yazid there in Karbala. Imam al-Sadiq had 7 companions that were named Muawiyah. It's only later on these names had certain connotations. Anyhow, So Imam al-Hussein meets his younger brother, Umar al-Atraf. Umar al-Atraf, is the youngest brother. His full name is Umar ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib, but they call him al-Atraf because he was only Hashemites from one side. He was from the side of Amir al-Mu'mineen. So they refer to him commonly as Umar al-Atraf. Along the way, he meets Imam al-Hussein. Imam Hussein says to him that I'm heading towards Kufa. He looks at his brother. He says, oh my brother, حدثني أخوك الحسن. Your brother Hassan told me. فبكى. And then he began crying, wailing. He couldn't get the words out. He's crying and wailing. Imam Hussein comes forward. ضمه إلى صدره. He holds his youngest brother to his chest. Consoles him. He says, what are you trying to say? That I'll be killed? He says, yes. He says, so then let me tell you. حدثني أبي عن رسول الله. That my father told me, our father told me from Rasulullah that not only will Hassan be killed, that I will be killed. You think I don't know? And my grave will be near the grave of my father. So Umar al-Atraf says, then my brother, don't go. Why are you going towards death? And the Imam says, لا أعطي بيد الدني. I will never allow myself to be humiliated at the hands of lowly individuals. Carries on. Umar al-Atraf goes. He says, brother. But does he have that wilaya based upon what we just defined? فأبذل نفسي ومالي وولدي وجميع ما قولني ربي بين يديك. I will give myself, my wealth, my children, all in your way. The covenant that was taken in Alam-e Mithaq was the one of submission to Ahl al-Bayt. And through the submission to Ahl al-Bayt, you submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no other way towards Allah except through the path of Ali Muhammad. This is our aqeedah. There is no way towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except through the path of Ali Muhammad. And the hujjah of Allah is integral to the whole of existence. لَوْلَا حُجَّةً لَسَاخَتِ الْأَرْضُ بِأَهْلِهَا. It says that لَوْلَا حُجَّةً, if there was no hujjah, the earth would collapse in on the people. The hujjah of Allah is integral to all of existence. So our ibadat must be through them. This is why the sixth Imam says, Bina ubid Allah. Through us you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is only through us that you understand how it is to worship Allah. وَلَوْلَانَا مَا عُبِدَ اللَّهِ. And had it not been for Allah, for us, no one would have ever worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We will expand on this in the coming nights. What does it mean? They are the reason for existence. They are the path for worship. No one else knows the ways to Allah. If anyone else tries to worship without wilaya, that is the ibadat of shaitan. That's the ibadat of shaitan. For when shaitan was told to do sajda to Adam, he refused. The sajda was not one of worship. It was one of humbleness, of khudu' in front of Adam. But he chose not to do it. And Ali Muhammad say that the reason for that sajda towards Adam was because our nur was placed into the back of Adam. And it was that sajda of khudu' towards us. He refused to do it. That is the ibadat of shaitan. Ibadat without the wilayat of Ahlul Bayt is the ibadat of shaitan. And we will explain how this world in the coming nights is in a vertical state of existence. There are layers to it. We are in the last and the lowest of those layers, the one of the dunya. Above this, there are multiple other layers. But there is only one path through these layers towards proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is through the path of Ali Muhammad. In Ziyarat Jami'a Kabira, there is a line where we address Ali Muhammad and we say that Antumus Siratul Aqwam, that you Ahlul Bayt are truly the straight path towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are the only way to Allah. That's why when Imam al-Hussein is leaving Mecca, he gives a speech. You know when he left? It was the day before the Hajj. He gives a speech. In that speech, hundreds of people surround him. At the end of that speech, he says, "Man kana badilan fina muhjata wa muwattinan ala liqa Allah falyarhal ma'ana inni rahilun musbihan inshaAllah." Says, those of you that have made the firm intention to meet with Allah and have made an intention to spend your blood in our way, فَلْيَرْحِلْ مَعَنَا إِنِّي رَاحِلٌ مُصْبِحًا إِنْ شَاءَ اللَّهِ, then come with us, for I am leaving Mecca in the morning. Ya Aba Abdullah, people are coming for Hajj, for the reason of liqa Allah, to meet with Allah. They say, I go to Hajj to meet with Allah, to go to the house of Allah, the metaphoric meeting with God. But you are saying to them that if you want to do liqa Allah, then come with me, and I am leaving the Hajj tomorrow. What is this secret? The secret is as simple as this: a Hajj without the wilayat of Ali and Ali Ali is not Hajj at all. It is only with the wilayat of Ali Muhammad that ibadat is ibadat. Seem really shocked. Recite salawat. It's definitely the quietest crowd I've recited in many years. I missed you. They are the only way to the truth. In the darkness of the realms of multiplicity. Al-Hakum al-Takathur. The Holy Quran says, the multiplicities of this realm distract you. You're distracted by everything, the glitz and the glamour of this world. Al-Hakum al-Takathur. Hatta dhuratum al-Maqabir. Until that is, your head hits the stone of your grave. كَلَّا سَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ. Then you shall know. ثُمَّ كَلَّا سَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ. Then you shall really know. They are the only path towards Allah. In the darkness of the realms of multiplicity, they are the only light. This is why إِنَّ الْحُسَيْنِ مِصْبَاءُ الْحُدَى وَسَفِينَةُ النَّجَاةِ. That Hussein is the lantern of guidance and the ark of salvation. In the darkness of this realm of multiplicity, if you want to find a way towards God, it is only through following the Noor of Ali Muhammad. It is only through following that Noor that they will take you to that reality. And in reality, there is no light in this world but the light of Ali Muhammad. And we will explain in the coming night how this light penetrates and emanates through the whole of existence. The only light that exists is their light. What one needs to do is allow that light to shine through them, not just guide them, but to shine through them, to inculcate characteristics of Ahlul Bayt within themselves. to inculcate that lifestyle of Ali Muhammad within themselves, because that's the only way that you too shall become a beacon of their light. They are in reality the light of this world. Abu Khalid al-Kabuli comes to Imam al-Sadiq salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. He says, سألت أبا جعفر عليه السلام عن قول الله عز وجل. I asked Imam al-Sadiq about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran. فآمنوا بالله والرسول والنور الذي أنزلناه. About this ayah that Allah in the Holy Quran says that, and believe in Allah, the Prophet, and the Nur that descended. Says believe in Allah, the Prophet, and the Nur that descended. فقال, he said to me, يا أبا خالد النور والله الأئمة من آل محمد. That by Allah, that Nur that Allah is talking about in this ayah is the Imams of Ali Muhammad. And then Imam continues, إلى يوم القيامة, until the day of judgment. وهم والله نور الله الذي أنزل. They are this light by Allah. 6 times in this riwayah, Imam says Wallah. Says by Allah, they are the light that descended to the earth. وَهُمْ وَاللَّهِ نُورُ اللَّهِ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. They by Allah are the light of God in the heavens and the earth. وَاللَّهِ يَا أَبَا خَالِدْ لَنُورِ الْإِمَامِ فِي قُلُوبِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَنْوَرَ مِنَ الشَّمْسِ الْمُضِيئَ بِالنَّهَارِ. O Aba Khalid, by Allah, the light of the Imam in the heart of the believer is brighter than the sun at the peak of the day. Says the light of the Imam is brighter in the heart. وَهُمْ وَاللَّهُ يُنَوِّرَ الْقُلُوبَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. They are the ones by Allah that illuminate the hearts of the believers. And Allah chooses to hide that light from whosever heart He wishes. Wallahi ya Aba Khalid, la yuhibbuna abdun wa yatawallana hatta yutahhara Allahu qalbah, wa la yutahhara Allahu qalba abdin hatta yusallima lana. Says by Allah, O Aba Khalid, there is no servant that loves us and has our tawalla, our love in his heart, except that Allah purifies his heart. And Allah will not purify the heart of the one that does not submit to us, Ali Muhammad. Understand the maqam of your Imam. It is unfortunate that our aqeedah has been mixed and has been distorted, that right now you're all looking at me like I've just said something absolutely mind-boggling. It's not. This is our aqeedah. This is the reality. But we don't delve into it. We're okay with the superficial, and that's why we see the amount of spiritual diseases that we have within our community. So in conclusion, there is only one path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is the path of Ali Muhammad. And the only way one can walk upon the path of Ali Muhammad, فَأَبْذَلُ مَالِي وَنَفْسِي, until they can't walk upon it, until they're willing to sacrifice their own desires and everything that God has given them and submit themselves truly to Ali Muhammad. That is the path towards Allah. Because if one submits themselves to the hujjah of Allah in this system, this vertical system of existence, if one submits themselves towards the hujjah of Allah, that is the ibadat of Allah. Because through that submission they understand salah, They understand Sawm. They understand Hajj and Zakat and Khums and Jihad. There is no one other than Ali Muhammad that can explain this reality. So do not take lightly this love that has brought you here today. This love that will bring tears out from your eyes. And I said yesterday, if you can't cry, there are three stages: there's buka, there's crying, or there's tabaki. If you can't wail and cry, because that's a higher level of ma'rifah, it's okay. Shed tears. If the shedding of tears is not happening, and we have riwayat, there's reasons for it, for the dirtiness of the heart and various things. If one can't shed a tear for the masa'ib, then they say at least do tabaki, which is lower your head. Lower your head out of respect for the masa'ib of Ahlul Bayt, and you will be given the reward equivalent to that of the one that cries. This is that magnanimity of Ali Muhammad. This love that brought you here. This love that will make you listen to the masa'ib. This love that will make you stand and do the azan of Imam al-Hussein. And alhamdulillah, I was very happy to see that the majority of people stayed yesterday for the matam. This is one of those things that has preserved tashayyu. Don't let people try and tell you otherwise. And it's unfortunate that this disease has infiltrated within our own community, within the followers of Ahlul Bayt. Otherwise, there are dozens of references of the A'imma holding majalis, of weeping and of the azan of Imam al-Hussein. Many ahadith about the azan. Just one tear will change your destiny. One tear of ma'rifah. Don't take this wilayah lightly, because a lot of blood was spent in maintaining this wilayah. Many sacrifices were given. Karbala is the embodiment of that sacrifice that was given. The night of the 3rd is when we commemorate the entry of Imam al-Hussein to the land of Karbala. On the 3rd day, Imam al-Hussein entered. You hear that along the way, Hur would stop Imam from going to Kufa until they reached this land, and the horse of the Imam stopped. Imam tried to move the horse forward, the horse wouldn't move. Imam finally descended onto the earth of this land. There was a tribe nearby by the name of Bani Asad. He called them. He said to them, "What is the name of this land?" They said to him, "This land is called Ghadariya." He says, "Does it have another name?" He says, "Yes. We also call it Shatt al-Furat." He says, "Does it have another name?" He says, "Yes. They would refer to this as Nainawa." He says, "Is there any other name for this land?" They say, "Yes, our elders would refer to this land as Karbala." Imam, hearing the name of Karbala, says, "A'udhu billah min karbin wa bala." I seek refuge in Allah from trials and tribulations. And then the Imam looks around the land. He says, "Ha huna mahallu quburina." This is the place where we shall be buried. "Ha huna masfaqu dima'una." This is the place where our blood will be spilt. "Ha huna subiya nisa'una." This is the place where our women will be imprisoned. Imam buys the land of Karbala from Bani Asad. He says to them, "O Bani Asad, I will buy this land and I gift it back to you with 3 requirements. The first is that Bani Asad, we will be killed here if the army chooses not to bury us, then you come and bury us one by one. The second requirement is that Bani Asad, this will become a place of ziyarah. Whenever our zawar comes, you serve them, you bring them and to our ziyarah, to guide them to our graves. The third thing is Bani Asad, whenever one of our za'ir comes, be their host for 3 days, feed them for 3 days. Even at that time, Imam al-Hussein was remembering each and every one of you. This is what it means to be the Kareem Imam from Ali Muhammad. Imam descends to the earth of Karbala, all the companions come down. He goes towards the camel of his sister Zainab, says, Zainab, this is the place that we must set up camp. She says to him, Ya Aba Abdullah, why this land? There is a darkness in this land. My heart has been in a state of unease from the moment we entered this land. Brother, can we not go a little further? Can we not go somewhere else? He says, no, Zainab, this is that land that was prophesied to us by our grandfather Rasulullah and our father Amirul Mu'mineen. Zainab, this is the land of Karbala. Now Zainab wants to come down from her camel. As Zainab decides to descend from her camel, on one side Abbas comes, he places his knee. On the other side Ali Akbar comes. Qasim runs forward. Awan and Muhammad run forward. This is how Zainab entered the land of Karbala, with Abbas on one side, Ali Akbar on one side, Awan and Muhammad, Aba Abdullah and Qasim around her, her other brothers surrounding her. But there came a time when Zainab had to leave this Karbala. It was the 11th of Muharram, and now they tied up all of the women and were wanting to make them climb on top of unsaddled camels. They came forward. Zainab said, don't you dare come forward. We are the daughters of Rasulullah. I myself will help these ladies mount upon the camels. Zainab helped each and every one of them get on top of the camel until there was only one person left, and that was Zainab alayha salam herself. The Maqtal says, فَنَظَرَتْ شِمَالًا وَيَمِينًا. She looked to her left and she looked to her right. وَقَالَتْ, and she said, wa Abbasa, wa Akbara, wa Husayna. Oh my Abbas, where are you? Oh Hussein, where are you? Oh Ali Akbar, where are you? Each and every one of you were here to help me enter this land. Who will now come and help me leave this land? She hears the movement of chains. She turns to see Imam Sajjad. Oh Aunt Zainab, Sajjad will help you mount your camel. He helps Zainab alayha salam on top of the camel. Now they want to add insult to injury. It was not enough that these women had to see the killing and the death of their loved ones. On the 11th of Muharram, they turned all of the camels and made them walk through the dead bodies of their loved ones. They walked past the mutilated body of Ali Akbar, the body of Qasim and Awan and Muhammad, until Zainab in the distance sees a place where only stones and spears are protruding from a headless body. Zainab throws herself from the camel to the ground. It is very easy for you to hear, but let me explain this statement that Zainab threw herself from the camel to the ground. Ali Akbar, he fell from a running horse. But Ali was a man and he fell from a horse. Aba Abdullah fell from a running horse. But Hussein alayhi salam was a man and he fell from the height of a horse. Yes, Abbas, when he fell from his horse, his arms were cut. He had an arrow in his eye. But Abbas was still a man, and he was still falling from the height of a horse. Yes, Abbas fell upon his face. But Abbas was a man. He fell from the height of a horse. Qasim was young, but he was still a man, and he still fell from the height of a horse. But Zainab alayha salam was a woman falling from the height of a camel with her hands tied around her neck. Do you know how Zainab fell? The Maqtal says Zainab had no hands to break her fall. They were tied around her neck. Zainab fell upon her face to the earth of Karbala. She stood up. She ran towards that pile of stones. As she ran, Zainab sat. Then she stood again, and she ran again, and then she would sit again. Again Zainab stood, and she would run again. Then for a short while sit, until she reached the body of Imam al-Hussein. They say, why is it Zainab ran and sat? They said the first reason could be that Zainab was tired from Sham Ghariban. All night she spent taking care of the women and children. All night she spent being the Abbas of Bani Hashim. Zainab was tired. She couldn't sustain the running. But they say the second reason, and the most probable reason, is that when Imam al-Hussein's body was lying on the plains of Karbala, one of the ways that the body is described, فَقَدْتَعُوا بِسُيُوفِهِمْ إِرَبًا إِرَبًا. They mutilated the body of Imam al-Hussein. Not just that, they on the day of Ashura ran horses over the body of Abi Abdullah. As they ran the horses over the body, the limbs became separated from the body. Now as Zainab runs to her beloved Hussein, she comes across a limb of her brother. She sits down to kiss it until she reaches that headless body of her brother. She calls out, Anta akhi, are you my brother Hussein? ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sake of these tears, for the sake of this azaa of Imam al-Hussein. Ya Allah, forgive our sins. Ya Allah, forgive the sins of our parents. Ya Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Oh Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa'ah. Those who are in debt, clear their debts. Those who are in education, make them successful. Ya Allah, I don't know what hajat, what difficulties, what sorrows those that are in the attendance of this majlis have brought with them. But Ya Allah, for the sake of that love that Zainab had for her brother Abu Abdullah, that brother whose body she reached and she could no longer recognize it, that she had to say, are you my brother Hussein? أنت قرة عيني. Are you the apple of my eye, Hussein? Are you the son of my mother, Hussein? Ya Allah, for the sake of that love, Ya Allah, remove the sorrows, dispel the difficulties, and fulfill the hajat of all those that are in attendance of this majlis. Ya Allah, give us tawfiq to go on the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein this year and every year. Ya Allah, give us tawfiq of Hajj and Umrah this year and every year. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true muntadhireen, his true waiters. Maarif-e-Islam.